greatest thing that can happen to you is hitting rock bottom. The worst thing that can happen is that you never hit rock bottom. You get just close enough. Not painful enough to change, and just comfortable enough to stay the same. People live in this place their entire lives, blinded by negative emotion and numb to the positive. A constant loop of the same day over and over. No challenge, no skill, no growth, just survival. The only way out is to feel so deep into what you don't want out of life that you have no choice but to slingshot in the opposite direction. You're listening to Give Yourself Some Leeway with me, your host, Eugene Lee. I've spent the last 4 years trying to discover how to break the burnout cycle, and as a high achiever in a fast-paced world, I know how easy it is to slip back into old habits, leaving you feeling overwhelmed and left behind. If you're anything like me, then you need to hear this. Burning out is not your fault. Yes, you can recover from burnout, and the post-burnout growth is not only real, but it feels amazing. This podcast is dedicated to helping break the stigma around mental health in the workplace, ending burnout culture for good, and the action steps that you can take today towards your personal growth and success. So let's do it. Good morning from Basel. I'm back in my storage room. It is absolutely boiling here. We're 6 months through 2024 already. Crazy that we're halfway. It is July. It is about 30 degrees Celsius in a little storage room. Acoustics are great here. They're pretty solid. So that's why I chose this as my space. But I probably need to start recording either earlier or later because I'm boiling in here. But I really hope you started off today. Great. Did you get your glass of water? Is this the first smile you're seeing today? Let me know. What's your 1% today? What's your win? Before you listen to this, what's your win? If you're listening to it right now, get your win in today. What I want to cover in today's podcast is hitting rock bottom, because the definition is different for everyone. It's like if I ask you to jump, you say how high. And when I ask you to hit rock bottom, what is rock bottom to you? You say how low. How low is rock bottom? Because it's different from person to person. I came across this post by Dan Coe on LinkedIn this morning, and it was about hitting rock bottom. How much does it take in order for someone to change? And Dan Coe posted, the greatest thing that can happen to you is hitting rock bottom. The worst thing that can happen is that you never hit rock bottom. You get just close enough. Not painful enough to change, and just comfortable enough to stay the same. People live in this place their entire lives, blinded by negative emotion and numb to the positive. A constant loop of the same day over and over. No challenge, no skill, no growth, just survival. The only way out is to feel so deep into what you don't want out of life that you have no choice but to slingshot in the opposite direction. And that really hit it struck a chord with me. The only way out is to feel so deep into what you don't want out of life that you have no choice but to slingshot in the opposite direction. For me, when I hit rock bottom, it's 2020 now. Back in 2020, when I hit my lowest point, where I felt so worthless, no matter how much I tried. I was so numb to my emotions. I had dulled all the negative, and with that, I dulled all the positive. I was not able to feel or regulate how I was truly feeling because for so long I had been running away from it, escaping into my work, escaping into different activities. I I wasn't running for my own exercise and for my health, but I was running away from the thoughts that I was having. That it was a time when I didn't have to think. And only by hitting this really low point for me that I felt, okay, something needs to change here. I know I want to succeed in so much more in life, and this is not for me. I don't know where to start, but I have to try something. And even in that moment when I knew that was my rock bottom and I needed to change, I didn't know. I didn't have any guidance or direction in how I was going to make that change. At that time, I was doing so much and feeling like I was achieving nothing at all. While at the same time, I had this negative self narrative in my head saying, you should be grateful. What you're calling rock bottom right now, other people will kill to have what you have right now. Stop being so cynical about everything. Be more appreciative, be more grateful. And this is what I considered a plateau. They were like, oh, this is the top bar for a lot of people. They would be so grateful for what you have. So you shouldn't be complaining. You shouldn't be seeking more growth. You should just be happy with where you are and just settle for that. And it just wasn't congruent with how I felt I needed to be. I was like, no, there's so much more to life here. Why do I feel I had such low self worth? And I knew that that wasn't what my friends or family would have thought. And because that was what I thought, I thought that I couldn't reach out to them because they wouldn't understand where I'm coming from. So that rock bottom for me may not have been a rock bottom for them, but because of the internal narrative that I had that I was feeding myself, I could not regulate that emotion. I could not I could not stay in that place for too long because I don't know where I'd be today if I stayed in that place for too long. If I didn't decide to make the change. If I didn't decide to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back, breathe for a second, just give myself some leeway and stop worrying about everything all at once. You're overwhelming yourself. What's one thing you can do right now? Just focus on one thing, and that's your win for today. And we'll go from there. If you can only manage one thing today, that's your win. If you only have 10% energy and you spend 5% on that, on this one activity, and you rest for the rest of the day, maybe you might have 20, 30% energy tomorrow. And slowly work your way back up to having that new 100%, what you feel as a 100% day. And for a lot of people, they hit that rock bottom moment just like me. And they feel like, okay, this can't be rock bottom because it could be so much worse. And yes, it can always be so much worse. But how much pain do you want to take on? How much more painful does it need to be in order for you to improve? If you're on a weight loss journey and you're 200 pounds and you're like, oh, I really want to drop to 180, but it's so difficult right now. I just don't have the time for it. And next thing, a year later, you find you're 250, 300 pounds. It's going to be so much harder for you. It's going to be so much more pain on your joints to lose that weight when it could have been as simple as losing 20 pounds. Now it's 120. When it comes to weight loss, when it comes to your health, to your fitness, when it comes to your mental well being, oftentimes we feel like we're going through this alone. That's how I felt when I was first going through my burnout recovery. I was taking on everything. I was YouTubing everything, but I didn't want to share with others what I was going through because I thought I needed to maintain this strong image of myself, that I couldn't let my guards down because it would be used against me, that I had to remain steadfast and strong and be a support for others. It was only when I started setting my own boundaries and saying no to things, and people started showing a bit more respect for my time. And it all started with me showing a bit more respect for my time too. I was able to show up as a better person for those activities. I was more present. And by setting a boundary, it was that when you get to that state of diminishing returns, it feels like that I could perform at my best and give the most of myself for an hour or two. But anything longer than that was when I started to have lower energy. I get more stressed and I get more cranky. And you'd feel that other people will feel that kind of energy rubbing off. And it's like, okay, and you're no longer being productive or being healthier. So it's time to call it quits for today and let's carry on another day. So when it comes to your rock bottom, you need to define for yourself how much pain are you willing to take on and at what cost that pain comes at. What's the cost of that rock bottom, not only to you, but to everyone else in your life? Does that pain reflect in the actions you take, in how you show up to others, to your partner, to your family, to your kids, to your friends, to your work colleagues, to whoever it is in your life? Maybe it's to your clients as well. Are you showing up with stressed energy or desperate energy because you're coming from a place of scarcity and exhaustion and desperation? Is that how you want to show up in the world? What is your definition of rock bottom? How much pain are you willing to take on before making that change for the better? If you made that change today, where would you be 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 10 years from now? Where do you see yourself? My goal for 2024 was to be of service. In everything I do, I ask myself, is this action of service? Is it of service to me? Is it of service to others? And if it's not of service, why am I doing this? And so far, most of my service activity has been around the podcast, sharing stories. But for the next 6 months, I want to extend my service. I'm increasing the amount of one-to-one coaching I'm doing between now and December, so I can be of more service. If you feel you've hit a rock bottom and you're ready for change, let's have that conversation. Let's start that coaching. If you need guidance, if you need direction to get past burnout, to get past overwhelm, to get past this stress and limiting beliefs that are holding you back from being a better version of yourself, let's see what we can do. It all starts with a 20-minute phone conversation, an episode on Netflix. Can you sacrifice one Netflix episode today, this week, this month, to put you on a path to a happier and more successful life? Until next week, take care.